So this morning we're going to be finishing up the Euromount project that we started a couple weeks ago. I actually have a couple different style of wall plates, or whatever you want to call them, mounting plates that I want to make. One of them is going to be a tabletop mount. That's going to be the first one that we're going to work on today, and then if time permits we'll get into the second one. But the tabletop one is actually going to be for my father-in-law. He had a pretty decent sized buck that he shot a year or two ago, and tracked it as far as they could. Blood trail dried up and they couldn't find it. Long story short, one of the neighbors ended up finding it last spring, so he has the dead head from that yet, and they're just looking for some way to kind of incorporate that into their household decor. So we're gonna try and do something a little bit different for that one. I've got some black walnut branches here that actually came off of their property, so I'm going to try and use those to make the tabletop mount for that skull. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to try and get these peeled, which is going to be a royal pain in the ass because they've been dry and off the tree for a very long time, and my cheap Menards draw knife sucks. So that'll be fun, but we'll get going on it here and see what we can do. Alright, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, if you're ever looking for a draw knife or anything that you're going to use more than once, don't buy anything with a tool shop logo on it. Their products generally suck. I have some of their power tools and they're alright, but this thing is a piece of crap. That doesn't, necessarily mean that you can't, put a decent edge on it. I guess I could try and sharpen this thing. It's just never been done. But that would probably make this a little bit easier. And honestly, the angle that's on this thing just sucks. It's really steep. It's just way too steep. But maybe in the future I'll try and give this thing a little bit of attention, or who knows, I might get frustrated enough today trying to use it and try and sharpen it. But for now, we'll just see what it can do. So there's better vices out there for doing stuff like this, but if you guys have watched the channel for any length of time, you know that I'm kind of a cheap bastard, so I just try to get by with what I can for the most part. And this bench vise works just fine for holding logs, for peeling, and using the tenon cutter on the drill, which is what I'm going to be doing here in a little bit. But yeah, like I said, they make specific log vices for doing stuff like this that you can buy off Amazon or eBay or pretty much anywhere online you can find them, obviously. But like I said, for now this works for me, so until it doesn't work for me, this is what I'm going to use. Okay, so that actually peeled up a lot better than I thought it was going to. so we got those all peeled up. Now we're going to get them cut into lengths for the respective pieces of the hole here. So the bottom that's going to be resting on the table is just going to be your basic U shape. And then on the top of the U, or I guess N in this configuration, if that's what you want to call it, that's where the upright is going to come out of. And then there's going to be a top piece that kind of angles down this way. So the base will be flat, there'll be an upright, and then the top piece is going to kind of angle down like that. And that's what the skull is going to sit on top of. So there'll be, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces total. So we should easily be able to get all of those pieces out of these 2 sticks of walnut. In the past, I've cut these with just a handsaw, and I have my chop saw out yet from doing a different project yesterday, so I think I might as well just go ahead and try and cut them on the chop saw, and we'll see how well that works for us. But my ADHD is on full display today. We got this project going here, got a garden tractor ripped apart over there. Yesterday I was building this little hut for the heat pump that we had installed on our house. So that's sitting outside, and then with the way our roof is, we don't have gable ends on the house. There's, what do you call it, like it's a hip style roof where even the ends of the house slope down. So in the winter, or rather the spring, when all the snow melts and slides off the house, it's going to be falling directly on top of the condenser unit that sits outside the house. So built this just to cover it up, keep the ice and snow off of it, and hopefully prevent it from getting smashed. Yeah, and then, you know, everything else that's going on in here. Still got the F-150 taken apart. God knows if we'll ever get back to that. But anyway, let's get these pieces cut to length. I think I'm going to make each of the feet about a foot long. That looks like a halfway decent length. So we'll mark that 12 inches. There's our 2 feet. I gotta figure out what kind of a length we want in between them here. I'm gonna think probably somewhere about, you know, half the length of the feet, so we'll say 6 inches in between the 2 of them, and that looks about perfect if you ask me. Well, we need to add about an inch on either side for the tenons that we're gonna use to lock this all together. So, let's see if we do 6 there. Do we want to go a full inch? Maybe. This doesn't need to be an exact science, but I'll try and get it as close as I can. So, I guess we'll try and cut it at 8 inches, and then if we need to shorten it up a little bit, we can. So that's going to be our general layout right there. Obviously it won't be quite that wide because, like I said, we have to shorten up that middle piece by putting the tenons on it, and then it's going to lock into the two side pieces. But see what we want for a height. I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 inches. So we'll add another about an inch on there, again for a tenon. So we'll say about 17 inches. And squared up there as good as I can. We said we want to go about 17 inches, so there's that. All right, let's go cut some tenons. So I'm going to be using the 1-inch tenon cutter and Forstner bit for this. Everything is small enough that that'll be the best option. And the old trusty Harbor Freight drill. I've never cut anything harder than pine with these tools before, so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the walnut. I'm thinking it'll be just fine, but you never know. Loosened up on me. Now it's interesting, that actually cuts way better than it does the pine. And specifically what I'm talking about is the finish on the shoulder here. On the pine, it gets all chattery. I don't really know how else to describe it than that. It's a really rough finish, and this finish is nice and smooth. So that's not what I would have expected out of a harder wood, but that's, I'll take it. So let me go grab my tape measure. I want to sit at about a 1-inch tenon there. And that's right about 1 inch, 15/16. Yeah, we'll call that good enough. And see if we can match it on the other side. And this is the downside. Hopefully, I don't know, let's see if you can see this here. Downside to using a bench vise for this is that you end up with these, you know, the marks in the wood from the teeth in the vise. But I don't really think it's a big deal. A lot of it comes out when you sand it anyway. And you can really see, you know, that's the end of the cut there from the tenon cutter. So it's taken a pretty big bite out of the piece of wood as you go around with it there. But that should sand out of there, no problem. Just a little bit of finish work as always. And this works best, I mean, kind of just like a chainsaw. You want to get it moving before you get into the piece of wood. And that sort of starts the cut off a little bit better. You just kind of ease into it. And it will kind of get away from you if you let it. Once this thing bites, it'll just pull itself right along the piece of wood that you're working with. There we are. So from end of tenon to end of tenon, or start of tenon, whatever you want to call it, we have about 6 inches, which is exactly what we were looking for. So that's perfect. While I have this up here, I may as well drill the hole for the tenon to sit into for the upright piece. What did I do with my pencil? And because this is a circle and we can kind of rotate it in whatever direction we want, it doesn't really matter where we drill the hole, so we just want to be centered. And there's our 6-inch mark, so we want to drill at about 3, because half of 6 is 3. Even though I suck at math, I can do that much. Alright, switch out bits. I have a piece of electrical tape wrapped around the Forstner bit, just kind of as a depth marker. I have it set at 1.5 inches, which is plenty deep for what we're doing. Again, this project, we're only going for about 1 inch tenon, but again, considering this is going to be for the upright and it's going to have that angle on it, maybe I will drill it to the full 1.5 inches, just for a little extra support there, again, because it's going to be angled like that, and we're going to be kind of more or less counting on that for a little bit of support. So make sure that we're centered on our mark. And naturally we walked off it just a little bit. How's that? Better. Perfect. All right, call that piece done. Now we have to drill holes for the tenons in the feet. So it's going to be, something like that. So we'll just get this locked up in the vise, kind of eyeball it a little bit, and keep cutting holes. So you can be as accurate or inaccurate as you want while you're doing this. Being that it's sort of a rustic piece, accuracy is not super important. But so we're going to go center the hole about 2 inches off the back. Just going to be about right there. And we'll say center is about right there. That looks pretty dang good to me. quite deep enough yet. Now we're a little too deep, I think, but that's all right. It's actually just about perfect, I think. All right, so that's one down. Let's repeat the process for the other side. Shove the bit in and cross your fingers. All right, so we have to swap our bits out one more time and cut the tenon on the end of the upright. Might have to chop just a little bit off at the end of that. I think it went a little bit long, but we'll test fit it here and see. So I've had a little bit of a change of direction in the way that I want to do things here, but long story short, got to cut one more tenon and one more hole. That one's going to be a touch on the long side again, but that's all right. We'll just trim it down on the chop saw. Switch our bits back over one more time. Now this last hole is going to be a little bit tough because I'm going to have to drill it at an angle. So we'll see what we can do with that. I'm guessing it's not going to go too well, but you know, under promise and over deliver, I guess. So I'm really just going to eyeball this. It's going to be somewhat difficult no matter what I end up doing. Now that I at least have that started, I think I'm going to flip it around so I can push the drill in the opposite direction and work a little bit better than what I was doing there. Turn you guys around so you can still kind of see what I'm driving at there. Bench is rolling away on me. Let's see, hopefully that's not too bad. All right, that should be everything that we need to kind of finish it up here. Come on over and show you the finished product. All right, so that's the general design. Anyway, you can kind of see what I changed up there at the end. Instead of having this piece abut this 45 and kind of come straight out and play with the base angle of the upright piece and yada yada, you know. All I ended up doing was just cutting another joint in here and then trying to kind of eyeball the angle just to get, you know, a decent, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, presenting angle for the skull to sit on. So this all still needs to be sanded, and then we'll glue it together. Might even go so far as to pin everything from the backside. We'll see. It's always a hard decision to make because then you have the screw holes on the backside. I mean, it really wouldn't matter. You'd probably really only ever see the ones on the sides because, I mean, I don't know. And you could always, I guess, plug them with dowels or something like that. But we'll see what we decide to do here. It's raining outside right now, and I want to sand this outside just with everything else that I got going on in here. I don't want to get the inside of the shop full of dust any more than I already have just by cutting and drilling the holes. But anyway, yeah, we need to put some sort of pin, screw, nail, whatever you want right here to have the skull, or get the skull sit in place. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do right now. I'll probably just grab a drill bit and then a sheetrock screw, a 2-inch sheetrock screw, and that should be good enough to hold it there. All right, so that's sort of the preliminary setup there. Like I said, we still have to sand it and finish it. I'm thinking that I might just put like a tung oil finish on it. We'll see how that looks. But again, overall, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. First time I ever did anything like that. Not sure if the height on the upright piece is, you know, what I would call perfect. It seems a little bit high, and the angle on the piece that the skull is actually sitting on seems a little bit shallow. I think it could have been a little bit deeper, but obviously that's going to be a personal preference thing. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I'll probably snap some pictures of it here and send it to my father-in-law, and if it's not exactly what he was looking for, then I'll probably keep it and use it with this little guy, because I think that's a pretty cool setup. I'd be happy with this in the house somewhere. So yeah, I think as soon as it stops raining outside, we'll go ahead and get this sanded up and get it finished. We'll have to glue it together too. I'm sure that'll take about 24 hours for that to set up. One thing that I'm going to have to figure out yet is the skull is not exactly stable up here. What I've done in the past when making just wall mounts is all you have to do is, you know, sink one sheetrock screw in there, hang it from this hole here on the back. I guess, what is that, the foramen magnum? Getting all sciencey up in here. But yeah, and then gravity would kind of take care of the rest. It would hold it there. But obviously here you've got the side-to-side motion. You know, this isn't a very wide platform, so I think what we're going to have to do is wire it. We'll probably go through, I'll set this down so I can actually show you what I mean. So we'll probably wire it and go through here and here. And there's also a couple holes further up that I could run a piece of wire through. And then I'm either going to drill a hole directly through this piece, bring the wire down, and then attach it here. So it kind of looks, I don't know, I guess, I think it would look all right. I don't think it would look stupid. Or I'll just put another screw or something along the base here and then can wire it around there. But then, I don't know, I just don't think that's going to look as good having a wire like wrapped around this piece when
you could bring it through kind of a decent angle and then back, and then it would also sort of stabilize the this piece here. But I mean, there's a couple other things you could do too. I mean, I could put like a nail in here, cut the head off, drill a hole, and then sort of pin the skull on that way. Like I said, number of different things you could do. Nothing's really right, nothing's wrong, so any way you can think of to firmly attach it here would be good. So yeah, think it over, figure out what you want to do. If anybody else comes up with a better idea than what I just described there, please let me know, because I'll probably steal your idea. But yeah, I will check back in with you once we have this all sanded. Well, it cleared up outside, so I went through and gave everything a good sand. Started out with 80 grit and finished off with 120, I think. Nope, 220. But got a decent finish on there. Went through and dug out all of the beetle tracks and everything. Got all the sawdust, or whatever you want to call it, bark dust, out of all the tracks. That'll give it all a little bit more character. Left some inner bark on in some areas, just again to give it a little bit more character. But this has some really nice color to it. I think it's going to look really good with 2 or 3 coats of tung oil on it as a finish, so I think that's what I'm going to do. But right now I think we'll just get it glued together, get it set in the position that it needs to be in, and let it cure for a day or so. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to let that set up as is. And then once everything kind of firms up, I'm not 100% sure what the set time is on this glue, so I'm going to take a look at that real quick. I'm sure it's a few hours. Yeah. They want it clamped for about 30 minutes, minimum of 30 minutes, and don't stress joints for 24 hours. So we'll probably just leave it sit overnight. It's not going to get below freezing tonight, so everything should be fine. Yeah, we'll leave that sit for now, and then we'll come back and finish it when it is ready. Yeah, I put a light coat on here. And the reason I did that is it just kind of helps highlight the spots where I had the glue drip from the joints. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but you can kind of see, especially on the back side here, along here, where the glue had sort of dripped down from the joint, and then I had wiped it up. So that's just how I do it. Like I said, kind of helps me highlight the spots that need a little bit of additional sanding. So I'm just going to go ahead and sand those down with some 220, and then I'll go ahead and put the second coat of oil on it. So we'll just apply oil until we achieve the desired finish, but I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 coats. Okay, well, that's been about 5-10 minutes of letting that oil soak in. So I'm just going to take this old fleece-lined sweatshirt and just buff the crap out of it here and see if I can bring a little bit of a shine to it. So it's it's up to you if you want to buff in between each coat, I would recommend it. I just think it turns out better, but I mean, I haven't done it without buffing in between coats to see if it really turns out any different, to be honest with you, but you can see the kind of finish that you end up with there. It's not as thick and shiny as it would be if you put, 12 coats of polyurethane on it, but again, that's not what I'm going for. But I think this looks really good as is. I will probably throw one more coat on it just to be sure. But as it sits, I think it looks pretty good. You can see the level of shine that you have there on the surface, and that's what I'm going for. Like, not too glossy, but not too much of a satin finish either. But I think that's going to look really cool with a big old 10-pointer sitting on top of it. So I will bring you guys back in when I have this set up and staged in the house.